What does freedom really mean? Is it the choices you have? Is it free speech? The truth about liberty is that your voice doesn't matter in a capitalist society if you are economically weak. Your choices are constrained without economic strength. So true liberty is economic freedom and access to resources and opportunity and ability to live a comfortable life with good living standards. But how can this be achieved? And what stands in the way of providing this equality of opportunity to everyone? This is Mission Underground. Let's face the truth. Rising GDP does not equate to increased liberty, increased economic freedom, and increased opportunity and prosperity. Rising GDP may mean more cash in the pockets of executives and millionaires, but it doesn't improve the welfare of the majority. It doesn't mean that growth is bad or that we should pursue degrowth, which is frankly a ridiculous policy, an ideology that would damage living standards and destroy the progress that we have already made. We should instead pursue the right kind of growth. We should shape growth with the instruments of the state to make sure that it serves our society rather than destroying the outcomes that we actually want to create. Green growth, which manages scarce environmental resources and also external impacts like pollution. Growth which is spread across the country and across sectors rather than being just limited to the financial sector, which has had outsized gains ever since the speculation that it introduced within the economic system has continued to reward it and compound its gains without justification. Corporate finance cannot continue to profit from the misery of millions. Many argue that we cannot have infinite growth on a finite planet, but this is something I dispute. The unrelenting ingenuity of human ambition and human innovation means that the ideas and inventions that power the growth of our economies can never run out. This is real growth. This is growth that actually powers progress and advancement rather than just creating accumulation of wealth. We can have infinite growth and growth which serves society without destroying the planet. We just have to reshape it so that it is a means to create a better society rather than being the ultimate goal that we aspire to. Growth needs to be a means to an end, not an end in itself. In a society of good growth, how can we create true liberty? We have to understand that today we do not have true liberty. Not everyone in our society, despite this being a liberal democracy, has the true liberty and the choice that some people have at the very top. As Grace Blakely has observed, our societies are increasingly controlled by corporations. The presence of extensive and powerful monopolies means that we do not have democratic freedom and control over the choices that are made that determine our future and determine our outcomes. We cannot control the choices of big tech in their market and how they influence our minds, influence our children and our societies. We cannot control all of the choices that these huge conglomerates make that shape the economies of the world, the trade of the world, and the choices that are made by individual governments. The reason for this is that these corporations and these monopolies create a system of state planning where the state favors corporate interests and preserves monopolies through instruments of the states such as subsidies, whilst neglecting real people and the real economy. What the state should be doing, it's using its tools and its instruments to support the people who need it the most. Instead, it pours its favor into the hands of the corporate elite. Corporate capture and lobbying means that governments and regulators are toothless and weak. To tackle this, we need urgent political reform to transform transparency around lobbying, to increase accountability and maintain a system which is accountable to all and transparent. It doesn't serve any one person or one group's interest. It serves the interest of the collective. We need to have increased transparency and accountability over think tanks and covert influence that subvert democracy. We need strengthened regulation on political donations and a hard cap to ensure that no one person can have outsized influence over the outcomes that we have in a democratic society. To restore our freedom and reclaim democracy, we have to destroy the corporate capture which is distorting our society. We have to make government independent of corporate interests once again. I can't remember if ever there was a time where we were not under the influence, the malign influence of corporate capture, which distorts our societies and distorts the decisions that are made every single day by the government. When was the last time where some form of industry did not have a covert influence over what happened in our society? Hundreds of years back, even then, the war industry perpetuated conflict and maintained a society where there was no peace and there was unequal outcomes as some profited from the misery of others. And this is the same system that we see today. As long as there's extreme wealth, there will always be a democratic deficit and there will always be undue influence. We have to curtail extreme wealth. Someone will always be able to influence politics unjustly as long as there is extreme wealth that is harbored within society, that is harbored in certain segments of society, whilst others are left to be deprived. Limitarianism is a solution that we must pursue, restraining the wealth of some who have too much, so that some at the bottom can have enough, so that everyone has enough to survive, rather than some who have too much and who gratuitously use their wealth to accumulate, who are enveloped within the addiction that this creates, the thrill of increasing and accumulating more and more wealth. They destroy society, they capture governments, they increase their own personal enrichment whilst destroying the lives of others. This is not a sustainable system, and inevitably we will see revolution against it. We will see a destruction of the social stability that has been celebrated for so long by these very same people, and the people who are also oppressed beneath the force of this. They celebrate the social stability as well. It makes no sense why it is so celebrated when they bear the brunt of it. In the past, when we had such situations, there was always major revolutions that overthrew the established order. It is inevitable that we will see a similar situation in the future. It is essential that we get ahead of the curve and make sure that this serves a situation that can create betterment rather than perpetuating further decline and further destruction and further stagnation. If we truly want a pluralistic and liberal democracy, not a society that is planned, controlled, and shaped by corporate interests, then we have to cap wealth. In consumerist capitalist societies, how can we address the impacts of frivolous consumption and luxury production without doing this? We have to understand that the presence of luxury goods and consumer choice is not a bad thing, but it has to be within limits. It has to be in moderation. We have to regulate and shape the incentives that are present within society based on the effects they have. We cannot ignore these effects. Ignoring them will only be to our own detriment. That means regulating the materials used, for example, to minimize environmental damages, or taxing certain products to disincentivize consumption and production. We cannot continue to deplete the resources of a finite planet. We have to shift our focus towards managing our resources sustainably, whilst recognizing that we have two infinite resources at our hands: money and ideas. The innovation and ingenuity of our people. That is what we have to leverage to create the good growth of our future. Even in a supposedly free market, of which there is actually none, the government has to play a role in ensuring that there are optimal social outcomes, whether that is public health or economic equality or environmental preservation. The state does have a role in controlling the shape and structure of the economy. That is true liberty, and that is true democracy, not the vices and destructive outcomes that are created by unfettered and unrestrained market fundamentalism. So what is the future of growth? What economic frameworks can be embraced so that we can create growth that serves society? We need a circular economy where existing resources are used effectively and efficiently, rather than the common issues we see of single use and small life cycles, discarding and waste. The amount of waste that is produced is obscene. Companies often also engage in planned obsolescence, making goods which are designed to not last for a long time, goods which are designed to be discarded and replaced so that they can continue to make profit at the expense of our planet. They also make it hard to repair goods. We need regulation to address these impacts and these causes of environmental decline. We also have to be mindful of the ecological constraints that are present within the economy, but also the distribution of growth that is created. Finally, We also need to focus on building a better society rather than chasing wealth accumulation, financial speculation, and financial incrementalism. This is the growth that will build prosperity for the many, not the few.